Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined in studio by Preston, the Sports Cheetah, and Brian Leonard. We're going to preview another college conference as we get ready for the 2016 college football season. Preston, we're going to head it to you. We're going to look at the Mountain West Conference. Tell us what you think this year in the Mountain West.
Yeah, I didn't actually make any plays in the Mountain Division. I think Boise State, obviously, they're the favorite for a reason, and Air Force is going to be really good again. Ultimately, the numbers just on every team lined up nicely. Last year, we had made a play on New Mexico over. The season win was 4.5. Now it's 7. Within a year, it's jumped up to 7 for a team that hadn't been winning 6+ for years. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to duplicate last year's performance. But I'm not going to be playing over 7 now. I think that number's close enough for a team like that. Jumping then though to the West Division, I like San Diego State a lot last year. It worked out for us. We cashed that future on them to win their conference. It's a lot lower now. You're not going to get 7-1. It's only about 2-1, along with Boise State. So I'm not going to be making a play there. But if you have access to a division future, they're by far the best team in the division. I think San Jose State's kind of on the rise. They're a team I played. They're over 5 wins here in Vegas. And they might make a push, but ultimately there's just too big of a gap between everyone else. And there was only minus 143 to get San Diego State to win that division. So I think that was cheap by about a whole dollar. So I made a play there. They're going to probably win 10 or 11 games too. So if you have access to it, their win total was 8.5, 9 even, I think is okay too if you have to play 9. And I think that's kind of ultimately what it comes down to is San Diego State winning that division and playing Boise State for the title game, which is what I think everyone expected last year. And then Air Force kind of came out of nowhere, more or less, and challenged Boise State, won the game against the Broncos that sent them to the title game, and then San Diego State took care of business. I think now you're going to get the 2 best teams in the conference in the championship game, and it should be really good. I personally probably will be looking to back the Aztecs again in that game. I'm just going to wait till it happens, the week of, and take the points.
Yeah, my 2 questions with it, no question, Boise State's, generally the class every year in there. And last year, they had 2 losses that you mentioned, the one the Air Force lost. And then the week before that, they lost as a 30.5-point favorite, if you remember, to New Mexico. And, you talked New Mexico was improved last year, but
31 points, yeah.
Not expecting that. What do you make of that? Those 2 losses last year? They made a switch at quarterback as well during the course of the season, and quarterback Ripien is in there. He put up some big numbers for a freshman. In fact, he was freshman of the year last year. And moving forward, do you see this offense, being the machine that it used to be now again?
It might not ever be that good or that strong. I mean, Chris Peterson, there's a reason Washington's getting all the hype too this year. He went over there. It's only been like a year or 2, and now they're top 10 in everyone's power ratings almost. And I'm not sure if they're there quite yet, but Chris Peterson was a big part of what Boise State did for years, and he's not there anymore. And so I think you're going to feel that, whether it's from actual talent and recruiting potentially, or just the X's and O's and the in-game manager that he was. So the offense, it should be better than last season for sure. I think they have 8 total starters coming back. But don't expect it to be really the power that it used to be. I think in general, Boise State won't ever be a team that's, a couple of those seasons, they could have beat anybody. I mean, they really did in a couple of those BCS games. It wasn't the championship game, but they were beating teams with as much talent as some of the teams that were winning it all. So they're not that good ever again, honestly. I mean, that was just kind of if you're a Boise State fan, I'm sorry, but I mean, that was like the glory days for you in the program. And you're still luckily in a conference, though, that you have an edge and you're the best team. So you have opportunities to win in 10, 11, 12 games.
Brian, you got anything in this?
I'd like to get his opinion on UNLV this year.
Ooh, that's good. I mean, last year was just crazy because, his name's escaping me, the guy from
Sanchez.
Bishop Gorman. Sanchez, thank you. It was his first year. He'd never even coached any type of grad assistant, at this level in college FBS. He jumps from high school to that, and they did well. And I think they win 3 games? Were they 3-9? I can check real quick. We got a video rolling, but I'll check. I think they were 3-9, but it was 3-9, but there was 4 other games they lost by a possession or less, and they were actually winning 3 of them in the fourth quarter, I think, or something like that. So they really were really close to being like a bowl team in his first season, and they were projected to finish dead last in the conference. So second year, I don't think it's a coincidence when you're winning state championships and, rated on a national level year after year at Bishop Gorman, and then your first try at college level football, you do what he did at UNLV. I don't think that's just like luck. I think he is legit, and now a second year in his system with more of his players coming in. I think UNLV is just on the rise. That team, I'm not going to bet their total. I think it's at 5. I think that's a perfect number. I'm going to stay away, but having a season win total of 5 is, that's great as it is. I mean, that speaks a lot to what St. Joe's has
There's been
done.
many years we've seen 2.5
Yep.
for UNLV.
In the past, they just didn't have the depth.
Yeah.
And this team is getting the depth. And I think next year, I'm looking forward to
I
next
even
year.
think as far as the conditioning, programs and
yeah.
stuff, it's just everything's stepping up from what we've
Sure.
had before. One thing I'm going to say about San Diego State, and there's no question, this is a team, they're bringing back a lot of last year's team, 7 starters on both sides of the ball, highlighted by a powerful running game. They got Donnell Pumphrey. Yeah, it just total. And what I liked about this team last year, I mean, they won their last 9 in a row, they won their final 10 games in a row, and they went 8-1-1 against the spread. They were a machine against the point spread last year. 2 reasons. One, San Diego State is, a team that's not been a powerhouse before, and Vegas, I don't think, caught up to really how strong they were. And 2, and we've talked about it a lot of times on videos, I like a running team when I'm laying points, because when you're in the fourth quarter and you have a lead, you're running the football to, grind clock. Well, they're doing what they do best, and they were instead of just protecting a lead, many times they're adding to the lead and they were covering. But I think because there's so much hype and the success that they had last year, I look for this team to be a little bit of a reversal on point spreads. I think they're going to be overvalued in a lot of the spots.
Well, as you were talking about to win the conference, there's not a lot of value there.
Sure.
I think Rocky Long is just a terrific football coach. No matter where he's been, I like him because he's honest. You ask him a question, he will tell you if part of his team is bad. You won't find that, and you just go and say, well, and you could tell by his enthusiasm how much he likes his team.
Yeah.
I think they got a very good team.
I'll say this, 30 more seconds for a conspiracy theory. I talked about this early in the weeks last year because I was so high on San Diego State, and I had people messaging me, and a good friend would joke around with me. They almost lost to an FCS school, and they were throwing the ball a ton. Then they got killed by Cal, and they were throwing the ball a ton, and everyone's like, you got Pumphrey, you have a running game. I think they were just experimenting to see what they had at quarterback. Mm-hmm. As soon as conference play hit, it was run the ball, play defense, 8-1-1 against the spread to end the season. I honestly don't know if you will see a drastic reaction because there was so much value on them after those 4 games. I'm not sure if maybe they catches up completely, if that makes some sense. I think the reason it was 8-1-1 is because the first few games they were just kind of seeing what they had in non-conference because they're not trying to go undefeated. I mean, if they do, great, but they had a quarterback question to begin with. Maybe now this year they know what they have. They're just going to stick to it. I think they're going to be strong against the spread again, personally. So we'll have to see. It'll be one to watch week to week. We can gamble on it if you want down the road.
Good stuff as always. And guys, don't forget, every weekend, $69 at Wager Talk. Pick your favorite capper. Get all of his plays Thursday through Monday for just $69. We'll be back with more here at wagertalk.com.